Hello! Have you ever played Mega Man and Bass and thought to yourself, damn, King's Castle is just too hard? Well, never fear, for I've had similar struggles and, having, mostly, conquered the stages multiple times, I shall be sharing my experience and advice for those of you who are struggling. This guide will cover both Mega Man and Bass. It is going to feature some cheesy strats, I won't deny that, but this game sometimes fights dirty, so we are gonna have to fight dirty right back at it. But before we set off, we need to make our preparations. The upgrades I would recommend for both characters are the Energy Balancer, Super Recover, Energy Saver, and the Super Armor. For Mega Man, pick up the High Speed Charge, and for Bass, pick up the S-Buster. You should already have 2 or 3 of these by the time you have access to the gate, and the gate itself gives you 800 free bolts, so any remaining upgrades shouldn't be hard to get. If you do need more bolts, then Astroman stage has a good spot for grinding about a third of the way in. The aforementioned skills are what I would deem essential, but if you can make use of others, bring them along too. The first stage should be fairly straightforward as both Mega Man and Bass, as it will largely just remix platforming challenges you've already seen. Bass's dash and double jump will obviously make the platforming here very easy, but as Mega Man you'll be required to have mastered the special weapons you've acquired. For example, you'll need to be comfortable with riding the ice wall over spike pits as shown by the very first obstacle you'll encounter. Another example of tricky platforming are the rising platforms returning from Astroman stage. The most reliable way to deal with them is simply to trigger them, walk off, and then under. The boss fight at the end is Atetemino Proto, and I am almost certainly butchering that pronunciation, as both Mega Man and Bass equip the Energy Saver and the Copy Vision. Stand on the platform until it almost hits the lava, deploy the copy shot, and short hop repeatedly until Proto's head is level with your copy shots. Then tap the jump button to keep it there. If you hear a bubbling noise, a little Atetemino is about to pop out from the lava, so jump accordingly. Occasionally, a monkey robot thing will come in from the top and throw projectiles at you or your copy if one is active. Proto will intermittently fire missiles at you, but they can be avoided with a well-timed jump. Once you've got these patterns down, Proto should be fairly simple. One final word of caution. As soon as the boss dies, get off the platform, as the developers try to pull a sneaky on you and you don't want to fall for their shenanigans. With stage 1 down, it's worth mentioning that, unlike some other Mega Man games, leaving the castle here will not reset your progress, so you can go to the shop or museum to resupply if you wish. When you're ready, we can move on to stage 2, aka the Pain Train. Your weapon energy does not refill between stages, but this shouldn't be too big of an issue with the Super Recover equipped, especially as Mega Man. The platforming in stage 2 is even easier than in stage 1, which is already fairly tame, so there's really nothing to talk about here. Before long you'll be fighting the first of 4 bosses, King Tank. Equip the Energy Saver, you're gonna need it. King Tank has 3 main weak points which you need to destroy, as well as an optional 4th. The weak points are only vulnerable when the tank is attacking, but destroying them will disable that weapon. The attack itself is determined by where you are relative to the tank, and you can exploit this to deal with the weak points in any order you'd like. The top mortar fires when you're roughly underneath the tank, and its position makes the lightning bolt highly recommended, and also why I recommend the Energy Saver. The back hatch opens when you're behind the tank and will spit out little soldiers that hold you in place for the tank to ram into you. Use the remote mine to stick to the hatch at any time, climb down to the lower level, and when the hatch opens, detonate the mine. The front gun similarly fires when you are directly in front of the tank, and it can be dealt with in a similar manner using the remote mine. The optional 4th weak point is the front track, which can only be damaged with the remote mine. Damaging it will not lower King Tank's HP, but knocking it out will prevent the tank from charging forward. As I said before, you can take these down in any order you'd like. My personal preference is to deal with the top mortar first, because the bombs are just annoying as all hell, followed by the rear hatch and then the front gun. Just take your time, don't get cocky or reckless, and the boss will die fairly quickly. The second boss is King Jet, and there's a reason they give you an infinitely respawning 1-up beforehand. The key to victory is beating King Jet as quickly as possible. The longer the fight goes on, the more likely it is that his fist attack will destroy a platform that you need to stand on, and you falling into the bottomless pit. With this in mind, for the love of God, use his weakness, the spread drill. The timing can be a bit tricky, but what works for me is staying as close to the jet as possible, and timing the drill so that the dome of the jet either rises up into it or falls down into it. Ideally, you want to hit the dome with the biggest drill, since that will deal the most damage, but if you feel like you're about to miss, spreading the drills will give you a better shot, and some damage is better than none. If the jet starts charging its big beam attack, use the remote mine's large radius to destroy the needle. King Jet also releases bubbles containing health and ammo pickups, but also occasionally these flash bombs, which will briefly blind you if hit. If you do wind up hitting one, stop moving. Trust me, the game positions you above a platform, so keep still until you can see again and you will be fine. King Jet also sometimes sends out these big fists that will destroy any platform they come into contact with. As far as I can tell, there is no way to manipulate RNG here. King Jet will do it whenever he feels like it, and will shoot them at whatever height it feels like. You just have to hope that the fists won't destroy a platform you need to jump on, and there's no real way around this. The above strategy should keep RNG to a minimum, especially as Bass with his double jump, but Mega Man's lack of aerial recovery will mean you are still somewhat at risk. If you do die, just keep calm and try again. There are plenty of opportunities to refill your weapon ammo, and the aforementioned 1-up means you will never game over. Third up is King himself. For the first phase, shooting him does nothing at all. Instead, focus on just dodging his big X's. They always come in the same order. As Mega Man, you'll need to jump, jump, slide, jump, slide. Bass, instead of sliding, can dash jump forwards and then backwards to dodge them. After 3 or so rounds of this, Proto Man will show up to take out King's shield, and then the fight will start proper. Equip the energy saver and the lightning bolt, and then go to the center of the room, jump, and at the peak of your jump, use the lightning bolt. Repeating this will keep King stun locked, so just try not to collide with King himself, and he'll practically beat himself. The fourth and final boss of Stage 2 is King Jet Robo. What an imaginative name. Use Charge Shot as Mega Man or the S-Buster as Bass to damage the weak spot at the top. Whenever the arm raises to shoot out the little tracking shots, deploy the copy vision, as the tracking shots will home into the copy rather than you. Use the remote mine on the needles as in the fight against King Jet, and jump at just the right time to avoid being rammed by the tank's charge. Much like King Tank, the treads can be damaged with a remote mine to prevent this. To be honest though, I don't bother with it myself. The charge is very easy to dodge as both characters, and the limited ammo of the remote mine is better saved for the needles. This boss also marks the point where the bosses become significantly easier as Mega Man than Bass. The main difference is that Mega Man's charge shot allows him to equip either the super armor or the energy saver and still deal full damage to King. Secondly, Mega Man has a platform to help him reach King, which doubles as a shelter from the mortar rounds. Bass has neither of these, which gives him much less effective health and makes it harder to hold on to said health. Therefore, the S-Buster is highly recommended to get the fight over with as quickly as possible. As a normal double jump cannot reach King, you need to use a dash jump double jump chain. Your best bet to avoid the mortar rounds is to wait for them to drop and slightly shuffle to the side each time. Other than that, there's not much else to it. Just break his bulb, run away, and go beat up an old man and his silly mustache. Stage 3 is the boss rush, and these are all bosses you fought before, and you definitely have their weaknesses by this point, so they shouldn't prove too much hassle. Apart from Burner Man, obviously. Between each boss will be some brief platforming, as well as opportunities to fill up on health and ammo. Bass will have a very easy time with them, and as Mega Man the only noteworthy segment is the second set of disappearing blocks between Cold Man and Astro Man. I, for one, have died plenty of times to it, but it is doable once you've got the pattern memorized. After that, it's Wily time. As Mega Man, the fight is practically in the bag if your ass can make it this far. As Bass, this fight is considerably more challenging. For the first phase, equip the super armor as Mega Man or the S-Buster as Bass. The strategy is largely the same as both characters. Your focus should be primarily on dodging the constant onslaught of hazards and sneaking in damage here and there whenever you can. Both characters can easily jump over the missiles he constantly spews out, and the saw blade can either be jumped over or walked under, depending on if it's a rapid saw or a bouncing saw respectively. If Wily charges his laser, that's not a euphemism, sit down! Just shoot the mouth until it closes. The main difference in the strategy is that when the Wily Machine charges forward, Mega Man can just slide to the left to avoid it, whereas Bass requires a well-timed dash jump double jump combo. You can also use Bass's improved airborne mobility to dodge Wily's attack, which is necessary given that without the super armor, Bass has much less wiggle room to work with. For the Wily Capsule, the good news is that, since Bass will use the magic card, he can now equip the super armor as well. As Mega Man, you're honestly better off just sticking with the Mega Buster since he doesn't really have the vertical mobility to make use of the magic cards. Unlike the slow-moving Wily Machine, the Wily Capsule teleports all over the arena. Unfortunately, both characters will be at the mercy of RNG, since if you're in a corner, he'll often have no respect for your personal space and give you no room to dodge his attacks. His spinning bomb things can be destroyed, and the lightning bolts make this especially easy. His other two attacks consist of 4 homing shots and a circle of shots that spiral outwards from the capsule. These cannot be destroyed and have to be dodged. Mega Man's slide and Bass's double jump is generally the most reliable way to avoid them, but this is one of those times when you'll just have to practice to get a feel for the timings. Bass's main advantage here is his vertical mobility, which allows him to get more hits in and therefore get the fight done sooner. As Mega Man, you're just gonna have to wait for him to be within height range, which can take a while. To be clear, I do maintain that Mega Man has the easier fight overall, since he can equip the super armor for the whole fight rather than just the second phase, whereas Bass has the quicker fight in both senses. There's not much else to talk about here, just stay calm, keep trying, and always finish with lemons for maximum disrespect. And there you go, you're done beating King's Castle and with it, Mega Man and Bass. The game, not the characters. They will never be beaten. Good job. I always knew you could do it. Go have some ice cream or something, I don't know.